Well, let's go through this thing then just a little bit here, Steve White. You've spent the better part of your morning looking at the rebuttal. Some interesting points in it. Look, it's 20,000 words. You're welcome to read it at home. Let me go through it as best I can. To me, it seems that the Patriots' best case has to do with the dual gauges, two different air gauges that were used and the measurements that were taken to prove whether or not these footballs were truly illegal. Right. Okay, that's where the rebuttal starts off. Then it goes into trying to refute or maybe give their context to the text messages that were to the two key Patriots employees, McNally and Jastrzemski. Yep. Okay. There's where it seems the NFL has its strongest case, or the Wells investigation has its strongest case, because they did all sorts of gymnastics to try and make you believe that someone calling himself a deflator, referring to needles, talking about PSI in footballs, referencing a person named Tom that they claim might not be Tom Brady, seems to be a lot of maneuvering to get to the place where you could believe that the Pats are completely innocent in this. Give me the highlights of what you read in the rebuttal.
Well, some of the highlights in the rebuttal, again, go back to the text messages between McNally and Jastrzemski. I mean, it sounds like the Patriots saying, hey, there was a lot more text to those text messages.
The logs are a little bit longer.
Right, and these were excerpts from there. I haven't seen the record. I don't know if they are out of context. Good point, then, by the rebuttal. Okay, if they can prove, as you said, they reference a Tom and a him or he in there, and they said, oh, no, they're talking about his friend, not necessarily Tom Brady. All right, then. You know, this is interesting, but they say that they've interviewed, in the rebuttal, that they interviewed McNally several times. And some of these questions about the deflator and something about, oh, I'm going to ESPN, to which the Wells report makes it seem like he's going to blow the whistle on what's going on here. And here it says something completely different. So a lot of different interpretation going on here. And this is why I think when we get to the appeal and things like this, because this is an absolute evisceration of Ted Wells' report. I mean, this is something they
attempted
evisceration
for sure.
And Steve, the other thing that this rebuttal shows is in the report it dismisses the scientific explanation of the natural loss of the PSI, and it also says that the league didn't take into account whether the effect on the PSI of the balls are taking any preventative steps. So it's also showing that this thing, at the Wells report, probably it wasn't handled right how everything went. I think when you have a Wells report, 240-plus pages, the average fan is not going to read through every single point. It's not going to, and I think what this does, the rebuttal, I think what it does is it gives another side. There's always two sides to a story. I think this gives another side, and it also gives the fans and people to go in and read and say, okay, well, they said this. Well, this is what actually happened in the report. So you got two sides that,
Yeah, there have been attacks on Ted Wells' neutrality from the Patriots camp.
He came out hard to defend
himself. And then he came back out
too.
and said that. Now, obviously, they're calling for a neutral arbitrator to hear the appeal, and you mentioned that before, that there are basically
the reason being
three choices.
The reason being, too, Scott, is because they said the NFL hired Ted Wells. So if the NFL hires somebody to investigate, I mean, that...
At the same time, Willie, they weren't screaming this when Ted Wells was investigating the Dolphins in the bullying scandal. But because it came on them, now they're pointing that out. And these are some of the things. So these are some of the things we have to discern from what's coming on from this rebuttal. Like some of the things just seem.
I think we have some bullet points we can put up there if we'll take a look, and if you feel like picking one or two out and commenting on them, that we can. So yeah, in pregame prep of balls, the league didn't take into account weather effect on PSA of balls. That goes to the ideal gas law, which is referenced several times in the Wells report and the rebuttal itself, basically that through environmental circumstances, balls could deflate some and lose some PSI. NFL officials did not record pregame PSI measurements. No evidence in text that Brady knew about football tampering. Well, they're obviously looking for direct evidence where somebody
and they should. Yeah, I mean, and some of the things they're also attacking here is not just the investigation, but the chain of command and chain of custody of what happened in that AFC Championship game. So they're not just attacking Ted Wells here. They're saying, okay, the officials were involved, didn't handle this properly, things like that. If you're going to come after our guy, and like you see in there, there's nothing that says Tom Brady told these guys to get to this point. Really, I think when you look at some of these things, that's why I'm saying the supposed lack of cooperation factored heavily, and the Patriots' history
and past doings.
That factored heavily into the severity of the discipline. And here, let's. So the deflator thing. Oh, wait, come on.
Well, this one is the one that made a lot of buzz on social media.
Yeah.
And actually, what we have it written here a little bit differently than what it actually says in the rebuttal. But the term deflate within text was a term Jastrzemski and McNally used to refer to weight loss. It was when McNally referred to himself as the deflator. The Patriots' rebuttal would have you believe that he was saying he was trying to lose weight, and therefore he was calling himself the deflator.
Right. Well, I just had lunch. And I don't know if did I inflate? Did I inflate? I mean, come on. I mean, that's going to be one when you see some of the discussion about, hey, I'm bringing needles and I'm doing stuff like that, and I'm the deflator and things like that. That's going to be hard. If this is a PR campaign, that's going to be hard for anybody to say, okay, come on, don't insult us. But again, some of the other points they made were very substantial, but I'm sure they feel if something is outrageous as this deflator thing, they probably feel that some of the stuff in the Wells report is equally as outrageous.